Good morning, my dear student. Today I am going to start chapter number 8. The name is NA with an E. So, listen this chapter carefully. First, we will read the difficult word meaning. Try to understand. Luminous eye, it means bright eyes. Ejaculate, it means spoke suddenly. Rowing means moving here and there. Deprecating, it means disapprovingly. Stepped lemming here spoke of feebly after into the French. Brief silence, rusty from long dishes. Because Marilla did not smile of her, it means rare, serious. Mellowed, it means more softer. Recounting, it means unwillingly came out. Faltered forth, it means a word used to express the disagreement. Another, reconcile myself, meaning is unwillingly accept. Scalloped, it means decorated with a small curves along the eagle. In the depth of despair, lost all hopes. Spreadlessly, it means lifelessly. Next, a pretty kettle of fish, it means an unpleasant situation. Wrathfully, it means angrily expressed. A predictly, it means out a looking for. Bevised, it means impressed, or reckoned, it means expected. So now we'll start this chapter. Annie of a Green Gables is a classic children's novel by Canadian author Lucy Maud and Montgomery. Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, a middle-aged brother and sister, intend to adopt a boy to help them on their ancestral farm Green Gables. By mistake, Annie Shirley, an 11-year-old girl, arrived. This extract tells us how Annie come to live with the Cuthberts. So listen this chapter carefully. Marilla came briskly forward as Matthew opened the door, but when her eyes fell on the old little figure in the stiff, ugly dress with the long braids of red hair and the eager, luminous eyes, she stopped short in amazement. Matthew Cuthbert was what she ejaculated. And where is the boy? There wasn't any boy, said Matthew reassuringly. There was only her. He nodded at the child, remembering that he had never even asked her name. No, boy. But there must have been a boy. Instead, Marilla. We sent word to Mrs. Spencer to bring a boy. Well, she didn't. She brought her. I asked the master and I had to bring her home. She couldn't be left there. No matter where the mistake had come in. It means he explained about his journey and why the boy is not come. Well, this is a pretty piece of business, ejaculated Marilla. During this dialogue, the child and had remained silent, her eyes roving from one to the other, all the animation fading out of her face. Suddenly, she seemed to grasp the full meaning of what had been said, drawing her precious carpet back. She sprang forward a step and clasped her hands. You don't want me, she cried. You don't want me because I'm not a boy. I might have expected it. Nobody ever did want me. I might have known it was all too beautiful, too fast. I might have known nobody really did want me. Oh, what shall I do? I am doing. I am going to burst into tears. Burst into tears, she did, sitting down on a chair by the table, flinging her arms out upon it and burning her face in them. She proceeded to cry solemnly. Marilla and Matthew looked at each other, practically across the stove. Neither of them knew what to say or do. Finally, Marilla stepped loudly into the branch. Well, well, there's no need to cry so about it. Yes, there is need. The child raised her head quickly, revealing a tear-stained face and trembling lips. You would try to if you were an orphan and had come to a place you brought was going to be home and found that they didn't want you because you were not a boy. Oh, this is the most tragical and that ever happened to me. Something like a reluctant smile, rather rusty from long disused methods. Marilla's grim expressions. Well, don't cry anymore. We're not going to turn you out of doors. Tonight you will have to stay here until we investigate these affairs. What's your name? The child hesitated for a moment. Will you please call me the Cordelia? She said eagerly. Call you Cordelia? Is that your name? No, no, it's not exactly my name, but I would love to be called Cordelia. It's such a perfectly elegant name. I don't know what on earth you mean. If Cordelia isn't your name, what is? Annie's really reluctantly flattered forth the honor of that name. But oh, please do call me Cordelia. It can't matter much to you what you call me if I'm going only going to be here be a little while. I can't. And Anne is such a unmistakable name. So the boy explained to himself that he does not know his name, but he loved the another name, that is Cordelia. So Annie liked to this name Cordelia. And unromantic father-sticks, said the unsympathetically Marilla. Annie is a real good plan, sensible name. You have no need to be ashamed of it. Oh, I'm not ashamed of it, explained Annie. Only I like Cordelia better. I have always imagined that my name was Cordelia. At least I always have of late year. When I was young, I used to imagine it was Cordeline, but I like Cordelia better now. But if you call me Annie, please call me Anne, spelled with an E, only E. So Anne, the short name is E. You call me only E, said by Anne. What difference does it make how it's spelled? Asked Marilla with another rustly smile. She picked up the teapots. Oh, it makes such a difference. It looks so much nicer when you hear a name pronounced. Can't you always see it in your mind, just as if it was printed out? I can, and Anna looks dreadful, but Anna looks so much more distinguished. If you will only call me Anna spelled with an E only E. I shall try to reconcile myself to not being called Cordelia. Very well. Then Anna spelled with an E. You can tell us how this mistake came to be made. We sent word Mrs. Spencer to bring us a boy where there no boys at the asylum. Oh, yes, there was an abundance of them, but Mrs. Spencer said distinctly that you wanted a girl about 11 years old, and the matron said she thought I would do. You don't know how delighted I was. I couldn't sleep all last night for joy. No, we want a boy to help Matthew on the farm. A girl would be of no use to us. Take up your hat. I will lay it and your bag on the hall table. Annie took off her hat meekly and they sat down to supper. But Annie could not eat, and when she nibbled at the bread and butter and picked at the crab apple piece out of the little scraped glass dish by her plate. "You're not eating anything," said Marilla sharply, eyes evening her. If it were a serious shortcoming, any sight I can't. I am in the depth of despair. Can you eat when you are in the depth of despair? I have never been the depth of despair, so I can't say, responded Marilla. Where not you will. Well, did you retire to imagine you were in the depth of despair? No, I didn't. Then I don't think you can understand what it's like. It is very uncomfortable feeling indeed when you try to eat. A lumps come right off in your throat, and you can't swallow anything, not even if it was a caramel. I do hope you don't be offended because I can't eat. Everything is extremely nice, but still I can't eat. I guess she's tried, said Matthew. Best put her to bed, Marilla. Marilla lighted a candle and told Annie to follow her, which Annie smartly did, tucking her that and carpet bag from the hall table as she passed. The hall was personally clean. The little gable chamber in which she presently found herself seemed still clear. Marilla went slowly down to the kitchen and proceeded to wash the super dishes Well, this is a pretty kettle of fish, she said wrathfully. This girl will have to be sent back to the asylum. Yes, I suppose so, said Matthew calmly. You suppose so. Don't you know it well now? She's a real nice little thing, Marilla. It's a kind of duty to send her back when she's so set on staying here. Matthew God, you don't mean to say you think we ought to keep her? Marilla Astonmine could not have been greater if Matthew had expressed a predilections for standing on his head. He might be some good to her, said Matthew suddenly and unexpectedly. Matthew coupled, I believe that child has bewitched you. I can see as plan that you want to keep her. I have never brought up a child, especially a girl, and I dare say I will make a terrible mess of it. But I will do my best so far as I am concerned, Matthew. See, Matthew's safe face was a glow of delight. Well, now I know you do come to see it in that light, Marilla, he said. She is such a uninteresting little thing. This chapter written by Lucky Maud Montgomery. So, my dear students, read this chapter again carefully and try to understand. I will send the solution of this chapter in PDF form. You have to learn word meaning and question answer well. Bye.